Welcome to our first module map. This is a tool that's designed to help you stay on track with the course, and it's just a good place for us to come together, and I can answer any questions. It's kind of like the beginning of class when the instructor handles any housekeeping sort of issues. That's this time together. Before I go into the week's assignments in this module map, I'd like to share just a few things. I already did the intro. I hope you watched that intro video first, but I'll go over, this one will be a little longer than most weeks because I'll go over some specifics with the assignments. I'm basically just explaining them to you for the first time. But before we get into any of that, I'd like to give you just a little bit of advice to help you stay on track. I keep saying over and over every one of these courses that I take that, 7 weeks, that's a challenge to squeeze in a full semester's worth of work into 7 weeks. It's a challenge, to say the least. And for those of you who just took IPT with me, in that regard, it was definitely a challenge, but we were kind of doing surface level, okay? Now, in Theology 2, we're going deeper. We're going down with the ice, below the water with the iceberg, okay? And which means there's a lot of work, a lot of reading, a lot of assignments, and you have to stay with it. So I'm really encouraging you. This is a class for success. You really need to keep up with everything and don't fall behind. And that also goes for Canvas as well. If you have an issue with Canvas, right away, contact me, contact the Distance Learning Office. We have people who are dedicated to resolving your issues and providing you with the support that you need, because once you fall behind with Canvas, then that makes it difficult to stay on track with the course as well. So I want you all to be successful and have a very positive learning experience, and the best way you can do that is just to stay on track with your assignments. If you have questions, contact me from the beginning and we'll take care of it. Okay, so for this week, I'm asking each of you to post an intro video of yourself, telling us who you are, where you're from, anything else you'd like to share. If you've done this for another course, please, by all means, use the same video for that. It's just good to be able to put a face and a background with the people with whom we're interacting. For Module 1, our focus is Christology, and specifically we're focusing on the person of Christ. So let me begin by sharing just a little bit about the reading, what we will be doing for the reading. The textbooks that you're using, if you took Theology 1 with Sister Erin's last semester, I'm using, for the most part, the same text that she did. Stanley Horton's Systematic Theology, Walter Elwell's Theological, Evangelical Dictionary of Theology. So that's what we'll be focusing on. Obviously, Horton's is from a Pentecostal background, not oneness. And Elwell is just a broad brush evangelical. Also, we'll be doing Brother Bernard's The New Birth. That correlates nicely with our reading content for this week, and I also provide some supplemental documents from time to time as well, as you see here in this first week's module. So for week 1 module, or Module 1's focus being the person of Christ, we're going to do Chapter 9 with Stanley Horton. And then the Theological Dictionary, it just has a gazillion entries in it. So you have about 5 entries this week that are related to the reading, and they're in varying lengths, but all pretty brief with that. And then for our other text that we'll be doing is Brother Bernard's The New Birth. Now, you're going to look at those chapters and say, what does this have to do with the person of Christ? Let me go ahead and tell you. Not a lot, okay? But we will be getting to the new birth, and there's a lot of reading. I'm just trying to pace it. I'm trying to spread it out to help you. So there are some things that help. There are some things in those first 2 chapters of the new birth that help us have a better idea about the person of Christ, and even next week's focus, the role, the function of Christ, what he accomplished, his works. But really, we're just kind of reading ahead with that. Okay, so I didn't want you to be confused when you're thinking, does this really tie in? And it's not fitting the assignments it's not supposed to. Also, the documents I've uploaded for you to read, I've got from Brother Norris's book, I Am. It is an apostolic theology book, but it is more narrow in scope. And so I'm not using that as a primary text, but I wanted, I really appreciated his writing about the person of Christ, and I wanted to include some of that, as well as a paper on Colossians 2:9, which is one of the most crucial passages in Scripture to explain the identity of Christ. And that paper was written by my husband. I hope that you'll find that beneficial. I also mentioned to you all that my thesis at UGST was on the Logos, and so I've just uploaded the entire thesis. I don't want you don't need to read all of that. I'd like for you to read chapters 4 and 5 with that. So you're piecing together quite a bit of reading here. You'll have it'll be probably around 130 pages that you'll be reading this week. Typical week would be somewhere around 100, certainly no more than 150, but there's a lot of reading. So you need to keep up with that for sure. Now, if you've got your module map, if you're looking at that as you're talking with me, you notice before reading, I offer something I call it a quiz preview, okay? So the quiz questions, I'm encouraging you to download them prior to reading and use those questions to help guide your learning during the reading assignment. Okay, why? What does that mean? Well, okay, each week you have 10 questions, and it's 10 questions, and it's from a variety of sources. And so what you don't have time for is to read 100, 150 pages, then pull up the quiz and go back and try to find the answers in there. And it's also not just about finding answers. It's about, I'm pulling out some key points that I want you to connect with while you're reading. So my gift to you is that I give you those quiz questions in advance. I hope you will download them. And what I encourage you to do is just answer, if you can print it out, that's probably the easiest thing. Print it out, keep it in your textbook, and when you're reading, if you find an answer, go ahead and answer it as you're going. Because then you can spread it out over time. With the quiz is open book, which is great. It's focusing on the main points from the reading. It's untimed. You can take as long as you need, but here's the sticky part there. You can't log on Monday morning and start reading from Horton and say, oh, here's a question. First of all, you don't have access to all the questions at once. It's one by one. And then secondly, you've got to you can't save your work for your quiz. So whenever you do the quiz, it's untimed, but you can't save it. So if you're not doing it in one sitting, your work is gone. So I encourage you to jot down your answers and then go back and take the quizzes. It'll make it a lot easier for you. So in terms of timeline and staying on task and getting things done, keeping up with the course, what I would encourage you to do is really work hard to get your reading and your quizzes done by Wednesday. So if you get the reading and the quiz done by Wednesday, then you've got the rest of the week to do the writing components of the course. That's what I strongly encourage. And then if you find as you're going on in the semester that, okay, you've got work done, you can get ahead in your reading, that's always beneficial. If you can get ahead, then that's great. If you can keep up, that's great. That's my goal. Okay, so that's the reading and the quiz. Then you have a lecture video. Each week I will provide a brief lecture, 10 to 15 minutes, and basically what I'm doing is you're reading from a variety of sources. I'm synthesizing that material for you. I'm giving you just kind of what I consider to be the most salient points, the things that I would like to focus on, or some loose ends that I felt like from the reading that I needed to tie up. So I strongly encourage you to view that because you will be responsible to share that information as well. While the quizzes focus really just from the reading, the other written assignments, the discussion board questions and the apologetics letter, you need to use the reading and the lecture video. You need to incorporate information from that, from both of those, from the full range of sources into both of those assignments. Okay, so the discussion board questions, let me talk to you very briefly about that. You've got a very thorough assignment guideline document that you can read, but let me just kind of give you the gist here of what I'm looking for. It's a little bit different from how I've done discussion boards in the past. But basically, you're going to have 2 questions, but you have to respond. You have to do an original post for both questions. So question A, you have to do an original post for that, a minimum of 250 words. Now, here's the thing, folks. I am happy for you to use scriptures. I'm happy for you to use quotes from your book or from the lecture or things like that. I just don't want that to count towards your 250 word count, okay? So your original post, you'll do your original post for question A, a minimum of 250 words, exclusive of the quotes in scripture. And that post must be submitted by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. Thursday before midnight, okay? Then you will have an original post for question B. So basically, you're doing the exact same thing, minimum 250 words. The difference with that is that one's due Saturday night. That gives us the opportunity to pace things, spread it out, focus on one question at a time. And then you also will do a response post for question A and for question B. This is where you'll interact with your classmates. So that's a minimum of 100. Each one of those are a minimum of 100 words, excluding quotes in scripture. And I just need them to be submitted by Sunday, before midnight when the module wraps up. So why am I spreading it out this way? Well, again, as I said, it helps you focus on one question at a time, but also I have been in a course before, numerous courses before, in which there were discussion board assignments due, and they're all kind of just due when the module's over, but part of the requirement is then we have to respond to each other. Well, it's 11:55 p.m. and other people haven't posted and I can't really respond, and that's stressful. So this gives us opportunity to post our original post, give a couple of days in between, and certainly you can do the response post before then, but I just give you until Sunday night to get that done. And you must respond to a classmate, not to your own posts, obviously. Okay, our final assignment this week is an apologetics letter, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. This is a 1 to 2 page letter, so it's ranging from 300 to 600 words based on a writing prompt given each week. Now, a little bit of a backstory with this assignment. So many moons ago, when I was in Bible college, Brother Norris was one of my professors, and one of the most meaningful assignments that I had with him was an assignment that he called a Dear Hans letter. And so the idea behind his Dear Hans letter, I'm not sure if he still does that or not, but the idea behind his letter is that you will, there's a new believer in a foreign land who was connected to you through the Bible college, and they were asking you some questions. They're growing in their faith. They don't have a Christian background, and they need you to explain some tough questions for them. And so I have taken a slightly different twist. When that assignment, was given 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago, really the demographic here in the United States was quite different. Even if people were not churched people, many people were much more biblically literate than they are now, okay? And so what I'm doing a slightly different spin. Hans is your friend. Hans is a friend to whom you have been witnessing, and Hans is coming to church with you. Hans comes from an atheist background. His parents are both atheists, and so he's had no biblical teaching in his home. He's just started coming to church, wanting to grow closer to God, but he's got some questions. He's got lots of questions, actually. And so the Dear Hans letter, and I kept the name Hans for sentimental purposes, but the Hans letters are designed for you to help him figure out some burning questions. They're tough theological questions, and so it's in lieu of a research paper. Kind of went back and forth with this, but the reason I chose to do this instead of a research paper, even though this is a higher level theology course and a research paper certainly would be appropriate, I chose this because I want you to have something that I want you to have some tools that you can take with you into your everyday lives. What do I mean by that? Well, I want this to be research-based. So I need you, it's up to 600 words. You're citing your sources as per Urshan's style guide. So it's academic writing. However, because it's a letter, as your assignment guideline explains, then you can use first and second pronouns. That's fine. But I still need it to be researched, okay? And the reason I chose this is because this gives you an opportunity to write on 7 different topics, 7 different hot button questions, rather than just one long research paper, and I think that will serve you well. My goal is for you to find a Hans in your own life, in your own community, and I want you to be prepared when you find that Hans with the questions that he or she may be asking you. So if you have any questions about that particular assignment, consult the module, of course, for that, the assignment guidelines, and don't hesitate to contact me with that or with any other assignments. Again, if you have problems with Canvas, get on that right away. Any questions, communicate with me right away. My #1 goal is for you to learn a lot and be very successful in the process. Have a great week, and our next module map will be much briefer. I won't have to explain as much to you. Have a great week. God bless you.